Hi, I'm Tania Baptist. Being actively involved in politics is not something I would have ever thought that I would do earlier in my life. I had opinions about political issues, but generally saw them in a disconnected way. Politics seemed unrelated to my life, and I certainly never thought that I would be a federal election candidate. Despite all this, I was propelled by political events. I became more concerned about what was going on in the world: poverty, environmental catastrophe, human rights issues, and increasingly disgusted with the attitude of the major parties towards these issues. While I began voting for the Greens, regarding them as some kind of alternative, the September 11 attacks were a real eye-opener for me, as they were for many people. The response of political leaders around the world seemed to me to be completely irrational. No attempts were made to understand the conditions which would lead young men to fly planes into buildings, killing themselves and thousands of others, which is quite a significant thing for someone to feel that they have to do. Instead, the facile explanation given was that there was good and evil, and that evil people want to destroy our way of life. It was obvious to me that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and no links to Al-Qaeda or September 11. And there seemed to be no valid reason for invading a country against international law. It seems silly to me now, but prior to the invasion, I didn't believe they would actually do it, and somehow thought they would come to their senses. The invasion of Iraq was a turning point for me, and I started firing off irate tirades to newspapers. Somehow I needed to express my disgust with the mountain of lies we'd been fed, and the outright mass murder being carried out against my wishes to defend our supposedly democratic way of life. But as the occupation went on, I felt that I had to do something more practical to stop the war. Like many people, I thought we had to get rid of Howard, and yet I didn't see Labor as an alternative. The Greens' policies seemed reasonable and they seemed to oppose the war, so a few months before the 2004 federal election I joined. I don't know how I expected this to work, but the idea of sending a message was promoted a lot. When Howard was re-elected, I was extremely disheartened, but a couple of weeks later, I had a discussion with an SEP supporter who told me in no uncertain terms that I should disabuse myself of my illusions in the Greens. He discussed the SEP's international socialist perspective. Of course, I had no knowledge or understanding of socialism. I looked at the World Socialist website the next day, expecting to be able to dismiss it. Most supposed socialists that I'd ever met didn't exactly impress me. However, I quickly realised on reading the site that I knew nothing about the world and history, and these people were at the very least extremely knowledgeable and thorough, and I was impressed by the depth of the information provided and the quality of the writing. I began reading the website every day. Gradually, I was convinced by the analysis that the problems which confront us are not separate, isolated issues, but are all caused by the capitalist system, and that the only way to solve them is to reorganise society on the basis of human needs instead of profit. As I read more, it became clearer to me how this could only be done by a unified international working class, which is conscious of its tasks. It became apparent to me that one of the most important tasks was building a mass party which was politically independent of all other parties and based on an international socialist perspective. The inexorable logic of this was that, as one of the working class, I had to build a socialist equality party. Although the international working class is being pushed by the crisis of capitalism into a revolutionary situation, a socialist revolution won't happen without the conscious intervention of workers organised and prepared in advance to take advantage of the events. Building the party must be done now. It can't wait. Those of us who read the site and agree with its perspective have a responsibility to build the party. If we don't understand it fully, then we have a responsibility to learn more. If we don't do it, who else will? There are many reasons why I could have chosen not to join the SEP and not to stand as a candidate. I don't know enough, I'm not confident enough, I'm not articulate enough, I don't have time. But ultimately, these perceived impediments are not just my own personal quirks. We all have one or another of them. They are the product of a system which actively excludes people from political life. Actively working to overcome them in the process of building the party is the only way that socialism will be built. And that's why I'm standing as a Senate candidate for the Socialist Equality Party, and I urge you all to seriously consider the party's perspective and participate as fully as you possibly can in our election campaign.